نیت شب زنده‌داری داشتیم. In the beginning of this program, we said we are presenting to you a VIZIER'S daughter, a tale of the darkest time in the history of the Hazaras. We said we will complete these 40 chapters, and we intended to do so, and we have reached to chapter 39. According to, listen to this. نیت شب زنده داشتیم اول شب چشم ما را خواب بود اول شب چشم ما را خواب بود نیت شب زنده داشتیم. Magar Chagar and I are witness that we have reached to 39 chapters, the second last chapter of VIZIER'S daughter, and only one more chapter left to conclude this story completely presented to all those Nosego and Bakulo, wherever you may be around the world, because we are addressing all the world Hazara communities. And we would like this to be watched in family, you know, Bakul and Nosa and everybody in the middle is complete circle of life. Can you keep it? That's only possible when you do not go into further trouble by remembering what trouble you are in. That's why we are remembering the trouble. Remember the fall of the Hazaras. Why did they fall as a nation, dispersed around the world? What now? So what? It's a great game, you know. And it's all about this power. This game is played for power purposes. And جرمی ضعیفی کی سزا مرگ مفاجات والعکس ہے. Why are you ضعیف? Why don't you have a power? قدرت نداره؟ خدا بازی قدرت تایپای میشه دیگه نه؟ So you have been taipai from 19th century, then 20th century, and 21st century. What's the program? Still taipai? Yeah, pi. I'm talking mathematics a little bit. You know pi? Research the pi. What is the relationship between the center and circumference? Y pi. And through Y pi we are connected to all the Nosego and Bakulo boys and girls, young adults getting ready to fight in the new light with a little bit more might. And that might not comes from Zor. I don't know if Hazara people have Zor. Any guns, any helicopters, any jet planes and airplanes and submarines, you know. Sota, you have any? That's the question. We're asking questions because they are the creative acts of intelligence. What is the second? There are 4 types of power. Zor, Zar, rupee, financial power. How much you have? Do you know how much gold you carry with you? The gormobri gold. And then you have Tazwir. Zor, Zar, Tazwir. Tazwir, chal. And the 4th one is Ilm. So this is hard power. Zor is hard power. Zar is semi-hard power. Tazwir, chal, is semi-soft power. Ilm is complete soft power. Misli aw and hawa power. Radiation, energy and vibration. For the Fallen Nation, written by LILLIAS Hamilton in the period of AMIR Abdul Rahman, under the gaze and guise and involvement of Mir Munshi Sahib. Munshi comes from Insha, Nishat, start, Alif, Be, writing, Mansha. What is your Mansha? Mansha Ishama Chist. Irade, what do you want? What do you want me to author for you, authorize? What is your will? Insha Allah, Insha As-Sultan, Insha Al-Ustaz. Insha, what is the Amr? Amr Shi Amr. Sahib, Amr. Munshi means somebody who is following the Insha, the dictation, the instruction, the command of the master. That is Mir Munshi Sahib, Chief Secretary, meaning. Chapter 39, A Pilgrimage, زیارت. امروز شما عزیزان من ملاقات منین یک از سناریوی بزی داستان اسیری گلبیگم و در آخرای داستان شما هم یکی از اشاره به طرف نوروز زوار میبینین. نوروز زوار. Zawar is somebody who has been through a period of a promise and keeping the promise throughout life and has seen much in life. زندگی را زیارت کرده با کل. You know, 70 season, 60 season, 80 Nowruz. How many Nowruz he must have been through? So much pain and pleasure. And then Nosa comes in, forgetting the Bakul's all tours and says, leave it, I'll try again on myself. Haqdamena, why? Nowruz Zawar. Yes, we would like Nowruz, we would like progress, we would like to move on with time and pick the momentum of the world. But in what way? Leaving the Bakul behind, leaving the legacy behind, leaving the pains behind, leaving the achievements unacclaimed. No Risha, no roots, no affiliation, no remembrance. That is not Nowruz Zawar. But there you will find how this ziyarat is linking the Nowruz Zawar's character. Twilight in Afghanistan lasts but a very short time. Sari bega chand laza tam waqt ki afta ghurub nakna baad zidi ki ghair siyati ra. And the darkness of the night during the moonless half of the month seems perhaps the deeper, because during full moon the night is so particularly, so startlingly light. Kabul in 19th century, okay? It's a scenario. You stand up on the rooftop and you look at Kabul's valley and the mountains surrounding it. And then you have got moonlight, full moon, Mai Charda, middle of the month. Very bright and very nice. Misli ki barf. فرق نمیتونستی که می برفه یا مونلایت بریزو خانه گیلی که میدر مونلایت اینقدر روشن و اینقدر عمیق و اینقدر هیوی و پرتیکولر بود فقط بگی این واقعا وجود دارد برف است. اما دیگه طرفی ما و 14 روز دیگه خیلی تاریکی دیست شناخته نمیشه. In fact, so white do the flat roofs of the mud houses seem that on a sharp, cold, wintry night, it is difficult to tell whether there was a full snow or not. زمستون متفق نمیتونی. یخ که ما سر بامارا گلیره باز او کی عکسی مای 14 کاملا بلیزو مفته و امرقم کی برف ده بیخه. Very nice image, isn't it? It was on a bright moonlight night such as this that a man in the dress of a court official accompanied by a single servant. يدو كردار داخل مشا. بين ميرقم يكشاو. Bright. Rode up to a small encampment of soldiers. Ye campi askara budunji. Some 30 miles out of Kabul. Inalas Kabul ina 6 mil dur rafda. Among the wild hills that form the natural boundary between Afghanistan and the adjoining countries. The Pakistan aras da khulasa. Wadi Kabul winar hamar tir kada. Khob. Assalamu alaikum, Mir Munshi Sahib, the chief of the group said, advancing to receive him, and in that bright moonlight, recognizing him at once. What? In the name of God brings you here attended by only one servant in this time of the day? Sahib, yijqam chirqamam denjum. Yak nafar, de shaw tariq, de khazrai dur. It is not safe. Khatariya bekhi mantaqa. This place is simply infested by robbers. Amzar taraf ki azhar darra ki dar bhi duze unji. Adam Kush, we ourselves never stir from the camp. Most campam khudun mashadan dur namori, less than 4 or 5 together. Aga borim 4-5 nafar ek jai. After the sun has set, بعد از مغرب, خصوصا. You're very right. Bilkul durust magi, the official said calmly, sitting down by the campfire. Peshatish mishnamaga. Bilkul. And stretching out his hands to the warm embers. But for me, it's quite different. Ali durust magi lekin khu khabari az ma khud astan az ma digar khama. Here, imbecile, addressing his servant, come and get warm too. Oh, Bezaban, Begaramshu, you were complaining of cold upon the road. Then turning to the soldiers, that is the best servant I have. He said, he is mute, Gungaya, so can carry no tales. And does not annoy me with conversation on the road. The Rabas ilayla namuga. Moreover, I am never tempted to send verbal messages by him because I know he can't deliver it. Whatever he has to convey must be written. So he has got me into less trouble than any one of my messengers. خیلی مرضیت کرده مگر چون ما همیشه نوشتن میخوام تو رو گفتن نمیتونه گبزدن نمیتونه دیدی چه نوشته کرده میتونه مرسن خیلی آرامم خواهم رایز این نه بس الگویم نیه دانش بنده and he is very faithful خیلی سخت وفاداره and all these poor different creatures are از تمام ازو خاک مرض دیگهش بهتره tongue been cut out. The man to whom the official addressed the conversation chiefly asked in a whisper. Even among those wild mountains, far removed from any human inhabitants, save the caves in the hillsides, such a question could only be asked with a bated breath. Oh no, born so. Amir Khan paidash de gunga paidash de. The master replied indifferently. He was in a pitiable state of neglect when I first got him. But he is getting on well now. Still, he is by no means sufficient guard for a man in your position, Sahib. Especially in this hour, it is not safe. That's just where you're mistaken. My friend, the other returned unconcernedly. You are most wise and prudent. In fact, obeying the Amir. Amri Amiri. Our master in never leaving the camp alone. But for me, it is quite different. You are placed here by the Amir. To keep these mountain passes safe. Safe for travelers, Jar and pilgrims and Zawar. And to prevent the hilly tribesmen from carrying on their old trade of robbery and murder. وی قبایل های وحشی کوهستانی که تمام روز چپاول منا کاروان ها را اینا منیشنه. They are your enemies now and their sons will be your enemies after you. حال چند نفره که تو چپا کده اونا خبر داره که تو کی بچه‌از کی خانه دو جایه تو کی کالای اسکریر پشت دیگه معنی از این نیه که قبیلات رو نمیشناسه. دشمنی نال تو گرفتی حکم از امیره دشمنی تو گرفتی قد اسیر for generations نسل در نسل. It is in the very nature of things in this country این میر قماسته that this should be so, but with me it is quite different. Quite different. I am a man of peace. My business is reconciliation. صلح إصلاح بفرمايد چی گبه چیز خیله what بفرمايد not war. Did serzi. God has caused me بحكم خدا to find favor in the sight of the AMIR. ما مقدار یک عزت که در نگاه امیر دارم and sometimes I have been able to help these very men you speak of and to lessen their punishments or even get them off altogether on certain occasions when they have been brought before him for trial and so they are my friends. اینا که تو میگی در اینجا دوز هستن مکشن آدم کش هستن تو چون که کشته تو دمزی خوفی که آدم کش مایه. I'm not a man of war. ما خونار بسیاریش جانش نجات دادم بسیاریش خیلی کمک کردم اونارا. So they are my friends and their sons will be my sons' friends after me. کیست از من دیگه؟ Oh, God be praised, mashallah, mashallah. That is true. Very bismillah. The sergeant and the leader of the little party said fervently, there are few families in this part of Afghanistan who do not owe you gratitude for favor done to them. Kam family paida mishe ki ehsan mand chum nabashe sahib. Or to some of them, their relations. You ought to be able to travel alone with a sack of rubies on your back. اگر تو یک بوجی خزانه ده پشت کنی تنام که بوری تو میتونی بوری. From one end of the country to the other. But the people about here are Shinwaris. Sahib, and you know the old saying? Mogya ki trust a scorpion but not a Shinwari. Be wise, wherever you may be going tomorrow, stay here tonight with us. We have built a little to offer you, but you can have food, protection, and my charpai for the night. That's right, here comes the tea. We have not much to offer, but there are hard-boiled eggs, khaygina and bread, naan and curd pour fare via come malai mas, but it is about the best we can do in the way of food when we want it in a hurry out here. You must not expect to find Kabul luxuries among the hills, sahib. And what better fare can a hungry man want? The official replied graciously. Strangers may say. Strangers may say that Afghans have many faults. Begana az birun hamisha gufta ho ki Afghana kheli mardumi kharaba. But they cannot touch them in one thing. In the matter of hospitality. بفرمایید بخورید بخوابید خدمت کنیم صاحب خیلی خوش آمدین خیلی خوش آمدین. When a man gives the best he has, if it be but a crust, he spreads a feast. هرچی که در تمام شد ما خدمت برو ما برید قرض کده. The soldier put his hand upon his heart and bowed. There was not a man in Afghanistan who would not have been glad to have been so spoken by the Amir's chief secretary. خادم هستم. خدمتکار هستم صاحب. You will stay the night with us, Sahib, he asked. I will give orders for you to be attended at once. فوراً جای ما شما جور کنیم دیگه. No, my friend. That I cannot. هرگز نمیشه. The official replied firmly. I merely looked in on you. این ما پیش تو یک دقیقه ازی خاطر استاد شدم to cheer you on your lonely watch among these hills. گفتم تو تنها دیگ نشده باشی. گفتم یک چایم رایت بخورم. I am due at the ziyarat near here tonight. How far off is it, by the way? I don't know these parts as well as I thought I did. ولی ما خیلی خیال میکنم ما تمام افغانستان میشناسم مگه جای را نمیفهم. میگفتم طرف میزاره دیگه نسته میشناسم. Why? It's a full hour's ride from here. یک ساعت راه صاحب از این طرف. You must let me send some of my men with you. اگر رفتنید خب بلکه ما چند نسکرم رایشم رای کنم. If you really cannot stay, the soldier insisted, they can remain the night too. بازم رای شما من زیارت هم شاو تیرنا and bring you safely back tomorrow. Escort. Morning. My life would answer for it if you were killed. صاحب اگر یو کار شونه شما رو مخد زندگی از من خطره. And if the Amir heard you had left my camp alone by moonlight, it is as much as my life is worth. خبر شونه که شب روشن دما تابیز گرت فرار که رفته یا مثلا زده شده یا یک رقم گپشن صبح روز. This was not easy to refuse. علی گفت یه چی رقم کنیم که اسکارم تو از من رایز ما چی رقم رای نکو مرتنا بیل که ما فرار کنیم. But the chief secretary was a man of many resources. مخش کار مکد که چی کار کنی چی تزویر کنی چل بچلنی بایی. Look here, he said. I will tell you something in secret that you may understand. بلکه رازم رایت بگم که تو بفهمی که قصه چیه. I have been in disfavor of late. خیلی عالم خرابه در دربار. Not real disfavor. که حقیقی باشه که ما واقعا ازو غم ازو خود بکشم. But my enemies have found opportunities to belittle me in the eyes of our master. خیلی مرد تا پرنده از سازش های خود پیشی نظری امیر صاحب. Gasped their soldier anxiously. That is bad. We had heard something of it here, but we could not credit it. گفتم خدا اعتبار کنیم نکنیم امتر گوات اول مشود چند روز پیش. You who have always been so high in his esteem, how could such a thing be? چطور مشه میگم اینقدر عزت و مقام و منزلت باز این رقم زلت. This has been but a trifle. این خو هیچ گپ نیه and hardly worth mentioning. هیچ گپ طوره نگی. The official replied quietly as he sipped his tea. His servant peeling one hard-boiled egg after another. او پاسبان زبیته دبیش خیلی نرده در پست کدریه and placing them before him on the bread which also formed his plate. بله نانچشتریه. But I have not been so well in the health late. حالم هم خوش نیه. چند وقت میشه. May God cure you, murmured the soldier fervently. خدا شفا بده. And these troubles, instead of stirring me up to meet my enemies boldly, have only made me feel more anxious to keep in my house, so that those rogues have been left free to brew such plots as they chose to make undisturbed me. حالی من خوب نیه اونا جوابم دادن نمیتونم این وقت که من رفت آمد از من بنج پوی شد دمن دربار این مینا دیگه وقت موقعیت یافتن و خیلی گوشی امیر پر کردن و ما حال ماست درست نيا خيلي روح ما مجروحة روح جاي مجروحة. The consequence is that this very day I have had to answer a most serious charge before the Amir. يعني من روز از دربار ما يمشي ده. إيه إلزامي زده بريز ما استعرف خود الزبان أمير شنو. Of course I was innocent. مگر ما بری شدم بری با عزت. And the Amir in his heart never dreamt that I was otherwise, but he felt he ought to try me as he would try another man, to prove to his people that he is just and listens to complaints against the highest as attentively as he does to those against the lowest. ثابت کردن یک ما عبدالرحمنم من میزان را توازن را در نظر میگیرم. برای ثبوت ازی گفت باز مرا خوب سوال جواب کرد. نگفت که تو چیف سکرتری میر منشی. مگر ما بریق شدم لیکن نقص بیزیتیم شد. خیلی مجروحم. Cursed be the fathers of these your accusers. خدای مدیا پدر از نار نالت کنه. The soldier murmured again but gasped his rifle a little more tightly. لعنت خدا دزی مدیا. The chief secretary was a great man, of course, and had been a good friend to the soldiers. But if the Amir were displeased with him, and he was trying to escape justice, it was his business as a soldier to see that this plan was frustrated. He was but a poor man, earning about 8 shillings a month. 8 shillings in the time of the 19th century. Google ki 8 shillings chan mashud do zaman. Ya the isabi imroz chan masha. But his life was still worth something to him, and he did not feel inclined to risk it in anyone's cause. Magar jaan khur khosh dash na. Rupina bud khaira. Al de izi sab ke min jaan khud ma da khatar nafta. I mean, afar farari na washa. Shak mana. Well, continued the official, noting the slight movement in his companions and understanding it perfectly. I had recourse, as I always do in all my troubles, to my God. مگر یک تکیه دارم. إياك نعبد و إياك نستعين. And I made a vow that if he would deliver me from my enemies, and would show the Amir where the guilty lay, I would make a pilgrimage to this saint's tomb. ما ده زیارت مورم ده زیارتی ازی ولی الله کی اینج دفن است ده زیارت. ایر ما وعده کرده بودم قسم خوردم ما نظر دست دگردن مو فهمی. I would come alone to show my confidence in his power to protect me. ثابت کردنی که تمام دشمنارم تو چپ کردنی از منی ای وعده ما هم اگر کدام خطر باشه تو هم فقط تو هستی تو هی مرا نجات میدی. You know I have never carried firearms. اسلحه ما هیچ وقت دیده ندارم. این اسلحه از من. Knowing that my fate lies in God's hands and that He alone has the power of His life and death. The soldier bent his head in acquiescence, but said nothing. Personally, he had great faith in his good English-made rifle. So, feeling sure that nothing could happen without God's direct guidance, I went to the court and stood before the Amir. Din Muhammad, the soldier name. You should have seen those pariahs, and the chief secretary's eyes glistened in the moonlight. As he recalled the scene, you should have seen them melt away like snow before the spring sun. دافتاو مشاو انت شد جاو 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 قم جاو. they had not a word to say, and gradually slunk off to escape notice and the punishment that is in store for them. Magaruna punishment, God is great. Alhamdulillah, He will not allow His servant to suffer, murmured the soldier again. The Amir is going to sift this matter to the bottom, and I am as high in his esteem again as ever. He asked me to stay and dine at court, but you know me. It was impossible. I had my vow to fulfill. نظر خورما کی گرفته بودم و فوراً باید پشت زبور مشدم. شکرانه. I came straight on here and have only this poor youth with me to wait on me and bring me my wuzu water and such like, that I may be no burden to the good faqir at the ziyarat. كسر أزياد نكون مامي خدمة كارم رئيس مامست پاسبانی منا. The soldier's grasp on his rifle relaxed. The chief secretary's vows, Nazru Niyaz Gapai, the pilgrimage, ziyarata, zawar mashadaro, and abstinence were all known throughout the country. Mardumi Rakheli, Abidu Zahid, Mishnacht. There was nothing wrong after all, and the official must, of course, have his own way. The other soldiers were his witnesses. وشاهدم داره اینی اسکر بود که ما گفتم که بیش یمین شو نشیشت گفتم منی چند اسکر ریکنم گفت نه اینی رقم. That an escort had been offered and refused. Here, you take some food too, boy. The would-be pilgrim said, not unkindly, addressing his servant. Benan Bukhar, we have still an hour's journey before us. Yak saad rai diga manda biya zuzu nan Bukhar ki bori. Ishara nasuni. Pasban khidmat kar. You must not starve, but fit yourself for your duties. Amadabash. We have another long ride before us tomorrow. Hazub was subah khud khabari ki bisyar ride raz darim. Yes, another long ride, neither knew how long. They were close on the borders of the country, every inch of which Begum knew. And neither was thinking of danger. It all seemed such plain sailing now. The meeting with the soldiers had been an accidental one. The chief secretary did not know that a new camp had been established there, or he might have avoided it, but it happened all had turned out well, and it had been a good move in case of discovery. That story about the pilgrimage too, he had noted the effect on the soldiers and had seen that it had all been taken in. It was midnight when the travelers reached the ziyarat, and the old faqir had long since retired for the night. We will just stay here 3 hours, Gul Begum, her master whispered. We must both take what rest we can tonight. Tomorrow we shall be followed. تمام خبر مشو دنیا که کجای چیف سکرتری جناب امیر منشی از این شای خود کار میگیری داره. Let them follow. Belki bayas pasmo, the girl said bravely. None but a Hazara could find us where once I am among my native hills. To belki the mai kohistana bersi bas paida kana ghair az Hazara morkas. We are close to the borders now. There are passes there no Afghan knows. With the raya and caves inside caves that none would dare enter. We have but a little way to ride and then we are safe. But we can sleep till 3 and then or even 4 and rest the horses too. They needed more than we do. The soldiers fed them well. I saw to that. And paid them well, girl. Did you see that? Nothing is more important now. We are flying for our lives. Agha, I did not give them all you gave me. I gave them their due. More would have excited suspicion. As long as this is looked upon as an ordinary pilgrimage, we are safe. Even were we followed. Her master looked at her, surprised and pleased, but said nothing. Can you give us shelter for the night? He asked the old guardian of the tomb. When after much shouting and rousing, the old man at length opened the door. What? Mir Munshi Sahib? At this time? What brings you here and almost unattended? Tajub. هذه هو secretary am da video nisb shawm rayak nafar. A pilgrimage, good faqir. متى مو زيارة زيارة. But I am weary. Let me in. I must sleep a few hours. I will commence my devotion at 3. By 4 I must be in the saddle again. This is a long way from Kabul and court business cannot be neglected. تشکری خور ادا کنم که انا قرض مدا شد زید که برم پس دیگه او کارباری اونجا هم وعده ها کردیم خلق را. That's true, بالکل درست فرمودین جناب. The old man said, but I am feeble now and cannot well rouse you at 3. خیلی من دایم ساعت 3 بیدار کدو مشکله. This boy of yours must do it for you. یعنی میره بگی که شما ساعت 3 بیدار کنه. Of course he can. Why? That's what I brought him for. He has no other use. The official said wearily, show us where we can rest and put our horses and then back to your bed, good friend. I'm sorry to disturb you so late. It was 3 o'clock. Even in her sleep, Gulbegum was conscious of the passing hour. But the chief secretary slept well. He had had a trying day. Then a long ride in the cool evening among mountain passes, all of them several thousand feet above the level of the sea. So he slept the sleep of exhausted nature. And moreover, the reposeful sleep of confidence was he never doubted that he would be awakened in time. It shak nadars ki marsiya wajad tir musha. I fixed the timetable. Gulbegum had had a trying day too. Are not the hours of watching and waiting in dread uncertainty harder to bear than the active, dangerous ones? एक तो मालूमदार है खो मालूमदार है दिगा ना मालूम की शुद्ध मामला बस खेली तशवीशी मुश है ना चूरम पुश दे वर्दी रवलेश बुरकाम بقرا مندخته فهمیدی میخوای اینجی اکتینگ منی گنگام هستی تو رام گفتن نمیتونی تیر شده نیم از دیگه رزنه هستی برنامه فرار مرارم تمام ای تشویش دیگه داخل جنگ داخلی خسته نمون آدم را روح آدم را منم مجروح. Thus had she sat and waited, listened to each sound, dreading yet longing for each footstep on the road to stop at her master's door. She had worked hard too, and had ridden far after 4 long years of captivity, but love is stronger than fear. محبت زور شي عاقبتش بخیر. Stronger than fatigue. از مندگی و خستگی و اسیری هم قوی تر است. Stronger than aught save death. غیر از یعنی قوت محبت مقابلش فقط قد مرگه. دیگه هیچ چیز روی بروی زویسته شده نمیتونه. فقط مرگ. خلاص نقصه. داستان محبت ہے. After 3 hours sound sleep, she awoke and woke refreshed, ready for the flight that was before her. There was a good many things to do. Her master's prayers to prepare for, the horses to look after and feed, and their own food to get ready. Say food that arranged to bite arrange kani bhai. Softly, softly, she went out into the clear, bright night. Not so softly, however, but that the old fakir heard the movement. Aliki mora maya gaiboru asbara chibidi chara bidi gaibia inji yirthayar ku gurujur ku fakir nafar bedar mushain. Turning around in his bed, he said to himself, a pious man, that secretary. The palu khadar midam khayli khuda tars adamai. He is up at his devotions already. Nis bishaw zayko the ibadat bedar. Namaz shab mekhana bahba. As for all was prepared. Sadechar, tayyar, the horse is saddled, the breakfast ready. So Gul Begum called her master. Have you not slept? He said, a little anxious, seeing her ready to start. The girl flushed with pleasures. Yes, Agha, I have slept. And well, khub se khawkadam. But I awoke early. So there is nothing for us to do now but to start when you have had some food. He smiled and looked at her. You are a good boy. Oh girl, you're a good boy, he said gaily, and know your business. I have slept more soundly. I have not slept so soundly that I could have believed possible. And soon they were in the saddle. Ruizin swar. Bale asp, ya Allah bakhair. That is the end of 39. Nis niyate shabdin zindadari dashti matai. On the first episode in introduction we started, I said this to Chagar, and Chagar also said too, and agreed that this 40 is like a chilla katkado. And all of you who have been with us continuously watching, wow, you have been such marvelous companions in this dark night of history in the 19th century, narrated by LILLIAS Hamilton. Panyad period. And that's the story of Panyad. But it is from Panyad to Panier is where our direction is. Pioneers. What are you pioneers in? Where are you? Which part of the world you are in? What way have you opened up for yourself? Escaping death, persecution. For what? For love. Love of what? Yes, love of life. It's a basic human right. कि खुद खुद आदम बीदी है कि मैं जिंदाईम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह शुक्र कि मैं जिंदाईम भाई. please do comment. This is the second last program, and we would like to have a little review on this program. Any questions? Which are the creative acts of intelligence? كلهم intelligence Neen intelligent. You can't differentiate. You don't know there are 10 intelligences. I thought only IQ or balbud. The imtihan khub number grift onumu khobadam. No. Wrong. 10. This is 0, okay? Don't worry. Or this is 0. One of them is 0, okay? One is bakul, one is nosa. So now you tell me who is 0. Is this nosa 0 because he doesn't know anything? But then he is full of life. She is new. The baby, the growth, the potential, the new generation. Now, Rose. Imagar Zawar shayad 0 washa. Zawar is 0 because he is completing the circle now. And like 0, he is saying, Ibratna machine, where's the story? Here's the story. The fall of the Hazara nation as a nation. Nation, Qabaili Nizam. But in 21st century, being dispersed around the world, having global presence, only if you knew your position, your importance of your position, and the role that you can play. Nojwana, what kind of role? Matlab yak niyati ki tu personally independent bashi yak, personally independent, socially responsible. Awal khutu independent, awal as khud, what do you think? How do you feel in terms of identity, history, geography, destiny? And then in this game of power, when great games are played, then what kind of power do you have in order to play the game? Avoiding the game is not possible, isn't it? The hunt. So somebody's after the hunt. Who are you being hunted by? Who is playing games upon your head? Why are you running away? Like a deer? Are we? Thank you, Chagar. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to the Hazara Archives for enlightening the path, opening up the doors to history and remembering the past and the causes of falling nations, in particularly the Hazaras, and what makes them rise. Is there a power? What kind of power? Is Zor possible? What about Zar? What about Tazwir? And what about Ilm? Ulume Iqtidar Afarin. That is what the keywords I would like to leave tonight with you, Chagar, and to all our dear Jigar, Zosto and Bakulo. Ulume Iqtidar Afarin. Whatever Google and all the rest information technology can give you, most of them can occupy you. You have no idea who has occupied you. But if the ulum that you can, the sciences, the different types of information that can empower you, that is probably what we are talking about. Ulume Iqtidar Afarin Balaibur. That's it.